3D movie cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clone being called Star Wars The Clone Wars. I'm your host 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clone, released in 2002. Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clone is a sequel to Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace. It is the second installment in the prequel series and is the seventh, it's the fifth installment, I would say, in the Star Wars films, but chronologically it would be the second film, but it was the fifth film made. If that makes sense. But the movie is once again directed by George Lucas and is written by George Lucas and Jonathan Hales. And this time around stars once again Ewan McGregor, and this time replacing Jake Lloyd is Hayden Christensen. Natalie Portman also returns, and this time around is the new villain, Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee, and Sam Jackson once again reprises, as well as Frank Oz as Yoda. The movie is a continuation of the movie is a continuation of The Phantom Menace, and it is the second prequel in the series. And this time around, Padme, who is now a senator, has given up the queenship over Naboo and is now a senator, taking Chancellor Palpatine's role as senator. She, this time around, is being targeted for assassination by a bounty hunter named Jango Fett, who is played by Tamara Morrison, who also plays the clones in the movie, and also would go later on to voice Boba Fett and play Boba Fett in later adaptations of Star Wars and the special editions, as well as the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian. So basically, she's being assassinated, and so it's up to the Jedi to find out this conspiracy of why they want to kill her and everything. And also, they discover there isn't a whole clone army, and they're wondering are they loyal to the Separatist or to the Republic, and just lots of conspiracy theories. And also, it is the beginning of the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars, I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. I love the prequels. I think they're fantastic movies. I was gushing about The Phantom Menace. And so I sat down to watch this movie again today, and I was just blown away by the visuals. I thought the visuals were great. There were some I have issues with, but I did like this movie for the most part. Like, when I was a kid, be fair, I did not like this movie. I just did not care for this movie when I was a kid. I watched it, and I'm just like, I don't care for this movie. I don't care for this movie. And so, watching it now, I just have such a fond appreciation for this movie because it's so smart, it's so unique, it's so elegant. It's just such a good film. It's like a beginning of a war story. I mean, I know some people say, oh, this is the worst of the prequels, and I disagree. I don't really think there was any really bad Star Wars movie out of the original 6. I feel like out of the 3, I feel like Phantom Menace is more of a children's movie, and this is more of a war story, a political thriller, compared to Phantom Menace. I feel like Phantom Menace is more of a children's film, while this is more of a political story. And there are things I really like about this movie and things I dislike. The things I like about this movie, I thought the story was great. I really did. I mean, the story, it's a political story. It's a love story about like a princess and a knight who are basically cannot be together because they're bound for two different things. And also, there's a war that's building around them, and they have to fight in this war, even though they don't want to fight in this war. It's just such a unique story. And at the end, they just define their own belief structure just so they can get married. I mean, it's just such a freaking unique tale. I mean, it reminds me of Tristan and Isolde, or, something, or those old Greek tales. I mean, it's just unique, George Lucas borrowing from history again, I really like Jango Fett, played by Tamara Morrison. I thought Jango Fett was amazing in this movie. Like, I liked him. I thought his armor was cool. I understand, like, that's Boba Fett's dad, and one day Boba Fett will be also played by Tamara Morrison. But, and also I really liked the Jango Fett. I thought his costume was cool, and I liked his death sequence. I thought it was fantastic, which, spoilers, by the way, if you have never seen Attack of the Clone. I thought his death sequence was really cool. I thought every time, like, he was on screen, I even, like, when I played Lego Star Wars, I liked playing as Jango Fett. He's so cool. When I remember playing the original, Pandemic Studios, LucasArts, Battlefront 2, I remember playing that, and I used to always play as Jango Fett. When it had options between Boba and Jango, I always played as Jango because I thought the armor looked so much cooler, and I just thought it was so fun. I mean, I like Boba Fett. Boba Fett's is my favorite bounty hunter, but I love Jango Fett. I always think he's such a cool character, and I also even have the game Star Wars Bounty Hunter on the PS4. I love playing it. It's a fun. I like that character. I really think it's a great character. He also has a great. I know some people say, why didn't he try to kill Padme? Well, and why didn't he instead? Because I feel like because with the clones and everything, I always see it as because the clones are with, he is a clone. He's not a clone, but he is the clone surrogate. So if he's mixed up in this, I think if he went to go and kill Padme and he's discovered, I think that would more jeopardize the clone project. And, because I think he knows about, the clones and the chips and all that. I think he knows about the separatists, and all that. I think he knows all about this and that Count Dooku and him working together, and that he basically is there to assassinate. He hires an assassin to assassinate. I think he's doing that on purpose because he doesn't want to get his hands dirty in a way, and so up until he has to, and then of course it just all falls down for him, and so he's just trying to, now he's like, oh, I just fucked all this up, and and so in a way I feel like almost like he's putting breadcrumbs, you could say, because he leads Obi-Wan to the clones in a way, and so the clones are now out there, but at the same time I feel like it would, it could go either way, but I always felt like he was doing it, he didn't want to do it himself, and he was getting somebody else to do it just so he can look out, he's watching his own back, and then it kind of falls all down around him, but also he's also leading the breadcrumbs to the clones, in a way. I just thought Jango Fett's just a unique character, and I just loved his death. I thought his death was so unique. I just thought that was great. With Mace Windu cutting his head off, I thought that was great. Also, this movie has less Jar Jar, so that's great, because I will admit, watching Phantom Menace, Jar Jar sometimes does get annoying, and especially, I'm just like, oh, he's only in like 2 scenes, and I think he has 1 line of dialogue, or, like when he's trying to give emergency powers to the Chancellor. And also, there's a great scene in the movie. I love the scene, there's 2 scenes I really love in this movie. The scene where they're about to go into the arena, and she's like, Padme's giving this beautiful speech about when she's ready to die. And then, like, and then they kiss as they embrace that beautiful, it feels almost like the Empire Strikes Back, the ending theme plays, and just as they're kissing, and then you see them go into the arena. I mean, it's just so beautiful. I'm like, that right there is George Lucas at his best writing. That is George Lucas we love. I understand we get mad at George Lucas for Jar Jar and other things and special editions and all that, but that right there with Anakin and Padme kissing as they go in there, that is the writing we love George Lucas for. And like there are so many things that we like George Lucas for, and I think that right there. And also there's another cool scene that I love after Jango Fett gets his head cut off, and you see his helmet. Boba Fett, who's in the movie as his son, young son, he sees his father's decapitated, then he finds his helmet after the battle is over in the arena, and he just picks up his helmet, he puts his head up to his, and I'm just like, that is so emotional. Like that to me, I would love just seeing that on a poster. That to me is like, that is Boba Fett. That to me is unique. I love it. I think that's Shakespearean, the way it's like, it's like, because one day he's going to grow up and wear a helmet just like that, and it's just going to be, and he's going to follow in his father's footsteps, and I think that is so great. It's like, we're in this character's shoes, and I think that right there is so beautiful. And I also really like, the arena fight with the Jedi and the droid, and all that until they get cornered in a circle, and then the clones show up and rescue them. I always thought that was so great when they're fighting, Mace Windu's fight, and just it's so great. That's such a great battle scene. I love that battle scene so much, and I just think that that's so cool. And also, the Battle of Geonosis is also great. There's a great shot in the movie, if you don't know, where in like this when they shoot down this giant like ball, the dome thing comes down, and then the sand's just covering the the clone troopers, and then the droids, and then you see them shooting, you see battle, and you see this, as you can just see the cameras behind the clone's helmet, and you see them boom, 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 and you see battles just like you're still going into battle, and I'm like, that's just such a beautiful shot with the lasers going boom, 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 and the clones are just going through, you're still just pushing through. That to me is such a beautiful shot. I'm like, that is great. That's a great scene. It's a great shot. I'm like, oh my God, George Lucas is a genius. That's just such a great scene. And also, I like the Jedi detective, like Obi-Wan being like a Jedi detective, because that's what Jedis are. Like, they're keepers of the peace. And, like, they're meant to investigate and do things. That's just, I like that aspect where he's investigating the bounty hunter, trying to find out who killed this assassin who was meant to kill Padme. I thought that was great. I also, like when Anakin's mom gets killed and then he just rages out. I think that was so great, too. It just shows he's building towards becoming Vader. That was great. And now, all this I love, and there's things I dislike. I dislike the scene where Anakin is on the little monster the little like almost like he's riding an animal and he falls off, and it's just so stupid and cheesy. I thought that was so like we didn't need that. And also I mean there's like one scene. There's one scene with CGI at the end when the Clone Wars, when they're putting when the Jedi are watching all the clones there. The scene's great, but this is just when the clones, you see all the clones, millions of clones there. It just looks like something you would see out of the cartoon Clone Wars, the animated Clone Wars, because it just doesn't look real. Like, I used to love that shot when I watched it on DVD and Blu-ray, or DVD and VHS. But now watching it now, I'm just like, this does not look good for a shot in 2023. It doesn't. And also there's some dialogue with Anakin that some of the dialogue is cheesy, like, I don't like sand. I don't like it in places. Like, there's some stupid dialogue. It's cheap, but every movie has some kind of dialogue that's like, what? There's, and also, like, some people get mad that when he starts crying and says, I slaughtered them like animals. I feel like that's understandable because Anakin is like a teenager, essentially. He needs a father figure, and Obi-Wan sees him as a brother. So when he lashes out, Obi-Wan he always just, it's like a brother that doesn't know how to parent. And he's just telling him, like, oh, this and this and this. And Anakin needs someone that needs to, like, embrace him and say, look, it's okay, I'm here. And he, and he has, like, Palpatine is basically trying to pretend to be that father figure for him. And then he also has Padme, who he's falling for, and, he's basically embracing her as his love interest. I mean, and that really, to me, is just what's unique about that. But I know some people criticize the dialogue, and some even say, like, oh, Hayden Christensen's a terrible fucking actor. And I don't think he's a terrible actor. I think it's just the dialogue, some of the choice. Like, he's really great in Revenge of the Sith. And I think there's other movies he's great in. Jumper, Awake. I even like him, in that movie, what's it called, with Matt Dillon and them, Takers. He's great in Takers. I just feel like, he's a really great actor. And some dialogue choices and actor I don't agree with, but at the same time, I think he's really good as Anakin because he's a teenager. He's not an adult yet. He's a teen. He gets married as a teenager, and he's not an adult until the next movie. So really, I think like give him some slack, okay? I mean, the factory scene I also didn't care for when Padme's like, it's one of those like MacGuffin things where it's like, oh, you gotta rescue Padme, and it's just a stupid thing where Anakin is just trying to rescue Padme and. Then it's like, oh, look, there, and some of the parts of it look fake. Like, some parts of the factory scene remind me of Clone Wars. Because it just looks so computerized and doesn't look real to me. And also, the title. It's called Attack of the Clones, which I understand why. The reason why it was called Attack of the Clones was because George Lucas the clones were supposed to do Order 66 in this movie, but they don't until the next movie because, so he just kept the title because they already paid for it and everything. So it's like, we'll just stick with it. That's why. And the romance between Anakin and Padme is somewhat creepy because Anakin's literally personally a teenager and Padme's an adult now essentially, so that's kind of weird. Especially, but then again, if Wes Anderson can do it, who am I to judge, really? I mean, Wes Anderson does it in all his movies, kind of basically. So what am I to judge, But and also, in fact, Leonardo DiCaprio was the first choice to play Anakin, but he couldn't do it because he was doing, I think, Catch Me If You Can or something. So, but yeah, I really enjoy this movie. And so I think it's a fantastic film. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it a solid A-. Thank you so much for watching.
Begun this Clone War